All right, Christina, welcome to
Thank
the
you.
Urban.
Thanks so much.
Yeah,
Sorry.
welcome to the Urban Pharmacy Podcast, my friend. I'm super excited to have you here. This is kind of an early morning episode, and Christina and I were just laughing about like our appearance. She has these adorable earphones on for really good sound quality. I mean, look, I've got this like janky microphone up to my throat, and I also have a coat on because it's like frosty and 30 degrees. Actually, I think it's like 20 something degrees
Oh,
where I
wow.
am right now, and it's just cold.
Just
But
straight into
anyway,
winter.
yes. Oh my gosh, it's such a change of seasons right now. But all right, Christina, I am so excited to have you on today because I have been using your brand. It is an oat
Uh,
milk. You guys, we're going to be talking all about it. But
Amazing.
I love women entrepreneurs because I think that they are such impact makers. And I wanted to talk all things oat milk, your story, and a little bit about business because we talk a smidge about business here on the Urban Pharmacy podcast. So, anyways, let's dive in. I want to ask you, and I've kind of asked you a little bit about this, but I want to know, Christina, a little bit about you and how your brand got started.
Yeah, we started it back in 2018. We were just really disappointed in the plant-based milks in the category. We wanted to create a milk that we would want to drink and that lived up to the recipe that we grew up with. So it started with me just kind of thinking like, man, there's a lot of sugar in these. There's a lot of artificial ingredients. Back then, I was working at an advertising agency, leading strategy on a brand that was like removing out all the preservatives and artificials. And I was getting this whole education on the weird stuff that goes into food. And I was shocked to find that these so-called plant milks in my fridge had ingredients that, fast food restaurants were taking out of their menu items.
Mm.
So my sister's background is totally different from mine. Hers is in chemical engineering and food and beverage. And we were like, let's see if we could take our grandmother's recipe, which is super clean, honest ingredients, really delicious, and find a way to scale it up. And as we kept, kind of diving in further, meeting millers and farmers and, different places to manufacture the product, we kept learning more and more about the concerning practices that a lot of other sort of plant milks were taking, the different path that they were taking. And it just, for us, brought up so many opportunities for us to carve a new path. And so one of the main ways was, we discovered there's quite a lot of food waste in the making of plant-based milks. And when it comes to oat milk, they often strip away or filter out the healthiest parts of the oat. So say 20 to 30% of it and throw that into a landfill and then just process kind of the starch really heavily, which is a long way of saying, you get a product that's really sweet and doesn't have as much nutrition. So we figured out a way to mill the whole entire oat, which makes it really rich and creamy, makes the oat milk, just a lot smoother, a lot more flavorful, and also means you get all the protein, prebiotic, fiber, all the good stuff from the oats, and it's zero waste, which makes it a better choice for the planet.
Oh, I love that. Oh my gosh. So okay, let's back up a little bit, Christina. So you and your sister just decided one day, did you just literally decide one day, hey, let's do this. Like, let's take oat milk and make it a business. I mean, did it really happen like that?
Yes and no. So the idea really came about in 2017, and it was something that had been just sort of like percolating in conversation. And then in around summer of 2018, I just was feeling really strongly that we needed to give this a shot. And so I basically was like, what if, I leave my career in advertising, I give us 3 months, see how far we can get, see if there's really like an idea here, if this concept is really as big as we think it could be. And very quickly, it just became clear that this is an idea that wasn't just something we were passionate about and we wanted to do, but something that other people really were looking for. And on top of that, I realized it was something that would make me happy to just go on the entrepreneurial path and try to
Wow.
build something.
Oh my gosh, that's so good. That's so good. Oh man. So you were listening. I mean, you just like listened to your gut. You followed your intuition. You're like, look, life's too short. I want to change people's lives with oat milk. I'm going to make this happen. And we're going to make a really cool brand. Like that's pretty cool. That is just taking a leap of faith. And that is the difference between people who are successful and, I mean, not to be dramatic, but like go to the grave without, a basket full of regrets. Even though things are probably, things probably go wrong along the way of this journey of entrepreneurship. But like, life's just so short. And if you want to make an impact, you got to listen to that inner calling, that inner nudge.
Oh,
That's so
100%.
good. Okay. So now I know that your history, you learned a lot about the food preservatives. What I really love about Willa's is that there's nothing in there that it's just so pure. How did you create a plant milk? For those of you who have not tried Willa's oat milk, you'll know there's no gums. There's no gums, correct?
There's no gums in Willa's original and our
Correct.
chocolate. We
Yes.
use we use the plant-based gum in Willa's Creamy. That is gum acacia. People have been eating that for centuries.
Oh, yes,
And then
yes,
we
yes.
use a little bit of gelling gum because a lot of people want something a lot richer and
Yeah.
creamier. And we would rather use plant-based gums that, functional doctors tell us are totally fine for most people than use these phosphate ingredients that are typically used in plant milks. And
Yeah. Go a little bit more into that. So the one that we drank, by the way, guys, is the original.
And that one's
And
super,
that has
super
like
clean.
no sugar in
Right.
it. It's just organic whole oats, which is incredible. And you guys, it's just, you cannot find that on the market. Like you cannot find one that doesn't have some sort of a gum that your functional doctor would tell you not to have, because there are definitely gums that are that can disrupt the gut, but then there are
Sure.
ones that are so much more subtle and friendly to the body, which I want to talk to you about now. Like this phosphate, I have seen this. I have these phosphate ingredients on so many plant milk boxes. What is it, and why would we not want to have it in our plant-based milk?
Yeah, phosphorus is something that, is in food, but there's a difference between it being mined from a rock and added to food and just naturally occurring in a food. And because these phosphate ingredients like dipotassium phosphate and tricalcium phosphate are in so many foods that we eat, Americans get way too much of them. We get 30 to 50% more than we should. And when they are additives in a food or beverage product and not just naturally in there, they're even more difficult for our bodies to process. So there are a lot of nutritionists who are saying this is the next trans fat. It really is about the amount you have, but essentially, they're really hard on your kidneys. They can be not great for bone density, heart health, all kinds of things. It's just not something we wanted in our oat milk. And it was also something that as we were working with integrative doctors and registered dietitians, they were just like, please avoid this at all costs. And we were like, wow, everybody else is using them and nobody's really talking about it. So for us, it was just super important to find a way to create a really rich, creamy product, never watery, never chalky, without adding anything. And that meant my sister and my mother iterated on my grandmother's recipe on nights and weekends for months, just to make sure we really dialed it in and made sure that as we scaled it up, we didn't lose any of the flavor, any of the integrity of the ingredients, and just created a product that people could really feel good about drinking every day.
Yes, good. Okay, so all right, let's talk a little bit about how you guys came to be a business. Well, yeah, let's talk about that, and then we're going to talk about organic because we need to talk about that for sure. But did you start selling your products? Did you start selling this oat milk, which is so good and so paving the way in the plant-based industry and helping people transition in a clean way? did you start selling this at like a farmer's market, or did you just go straight to like manufacturing in a big way?
We thought about starting in a farmer's market. That actually was not as easy as it sounds. It's not just, you build a cute booth and you walk over and you start selling your goods. There's all kinds of, you know, local government bureaucracy and certifications and things that you have to get. There's a lot of hoops to jump through. Equally, we were planning on launching in coffee shops and co-working spaces, and talking to baristas and coffee shop owners. It was very clear that we needed to get the product into a carton and not, like a glass mason jar or something like that. So we very quickly realized like this was not going to be something we were going to be able to do on a small scale to start with. We're going to have to figure out how to work with a manufacturer that could put it into, these cartons that can be shelf stable, and really scale up the recipe. So that, I wish we could have started small in a farmer's market. That would have been really nice.
Well, no, hey, listen, the reason why I asked you is because we have been, we have a booth at the farmer's market. My husband actually grows organic produce on our farm. And I started making plant-based foods years ago to accommodate our produce. And I started with like these raw chocolate brownie balls, which is now a recipe on my blog. You guys should go check it out. A cashew queso cheese. I made different herbal teas. I made infused and like adaptogenic blended raw almond butters with my almond butter grinder. Like I made all the things, and we've gotten rid of all that because that was a lot. That was very hard. That was a lot.
There's a lot of products.
Yeah.
And recipes.
And elderberry syrup is really where it's at for us now. But we started on a farmer's market scale, but you got to get those certifications. You've got to go to the commercial kitchen. You've got to blah, 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 and all the packaging and all the testing. It's crazy. And people just have no idea all of the things that you have to do to get a product to market. And, just because you're at a farmer's market, you're not setting up a beautiful tiny little booth and going there. Like you've got to do so much work. So this is so interesting because now we're looking at working with a co-packer and actually getting it, out into commerce in a much bigger way. But you are inspiring to know that your guys' brand has been so successful. Do you think, Christina, that the biggest drive, and you probably know the biggest drive of sales for your brand, but like, is it because you're organic? Because that is another thing that really sets you guys apart, like
that is a huge way. Yeah. I mean, that was super, super critical for us. Conventional oats are some of the most heavily sprayed crops, often with glyphosate, which is the active ingredient in Roundup. That was just not something we wanted in our oat milk. So it was basically like, we are only doing this if we can be organic. That's the only way we could feel good about it. Our target, is people like you who are like, I want to drink a really delicious plant milk that actually uses ingredients I can pronounce and has some nutritional density, and I can feel good about sharing with my family or giving my kids. And so for us, it's just been making sure that we're always living up to our values and, prioritizing health and sustainability alongside creating a product that tastes really, really good.
Oh, it's so good. So yeah. And you guys, like when you're thinking about, you might think that, oh, I'll just buy regular oat milk, and whatever brand, and it'll be fine because I'll eat all the other things that are organic and blah, 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 blah. But like, here's the deal. If you are giving your kid, especially kids, like that's why I like the convenience of Willa's. Like for me and like me personally, I usually home make all of my milks, my hemp milk, my oat milk, like that's just the way I roll. But for my readers, right? For my readers on my or on my blog, and like if I need something quick for my kid that we're, out the door and I don't have time to make him something, if you're having these milks like twice a day, maybe you're giving your kiddo cereal and then you're making a smoothie with it, like it adds up. And definitely you want to be consuming organic if you are having oats in general, and oat milk for sure. And that's pretty hard to find. So you just need to get on the website and order Willa's. I mean, where all can we find you now, Christina? Just because I feel like since I came across your guys' brand originally, you've grown a lot.
Yeah, we are available on Amazon, so you can find us there. We're about to launch. We haven't launched the dark chocolate product yet on Amazon, but that's coming soon. And then we've been launching in about 5 new retail stores a week. So right now we're mostly in co-ops and natural food stores. We're not in any huge chains yet, but every day it's like there's a new store that we're launching in. So you can always follow us on social or our emails, and you'll find out if there's like any new launches happening in your neighborhood.
Fantastic. So yes, it is on Amazon, and you can also purchase through willas.com. And I have a discount code I'll leave you guys at the bottom of this episode too, so you can snag that. But okay, let's transition a little bit away from the product itself and talk about business, Christina. And for people who are interested in starting a business or a brand of their own and just don't know where to start, like, do you have any tips? I'm springing this question out on you. Like, you had no idea I was going to ask you this, but like, for entrepreneurs that really just want to follow their vision and step into their ideal life, do you have any top tips that you can share with our listeners to just start? Like, where would you want to start when you're creating a business?
Where I started was by talking to other entrepreneurs. So because I was just like, what do I even do first? Your to-do list is a mile long to start something like this. And it's like, what are the most important things? What are the pitfalls to avoid? Those are the questions that I wanted to get answered. So I just started reaching out to every friend of a friend, family member of a coworker who had started a business, especially if it was in food, but also outside of that, just to learn everything I could. Like, literally ask them, like, what are the things that I should be focused on doing first? What are like the first steps I need to take? What are the things that I should try to avoid? What are the mistakes that, we should be watching out for? And that for me was super, super helpful for a couple of reasons. One, it helped me kind of understand that I'm not the only one who's faced this kind of overwhelm of starting something, and talk to other people who had been through it. It also helped me figure out what the first steps I should take were, and how to, start an LLC and all of that stuff. Equally, it allowed us to create this sort of network of experts that we now go to as advisors or check in with, and also other women entrepreneurs that we've had the chance to partner with on different projects. So for me, that was just like the best thing we could have done to get going as quickly as possible.
Okay, that's really good. That's something that I actually haven't done enough of. That really just intrigued me. I have not spoken to other entrepreneurs enough. I mean, this is something that I harp to people. If they do want to be a successful entrepreneur, that you need to be surrounding yourself with these people so that you can stay motivated, so that you can, you guys can relate with one another and you're all rising up together. But I've never really taken the intentional time to be asking questions to the people that I want to become. Like, I'm going to start doing that, like really getting deliberate and intentional about question asking. That's the second time that's come across my life in the last 48 hours. I just read something about that yesterday. So I feel like that's a nudge from the universe that I need to get on that, and that would be really helpful and probably help me find a little clarity. Okay. So Christina, as an entrepreneur, do you have any lifestyle tips that you practice on a daily basis that you feel are a big part of your success and your ability to maintain consistency with growing your brand? I know that's kind of a weird question, but I believe very strongly that lifestyle has a lot to do with success. And I want to know, what's Christina doing on a daily basis?
I think lifestyle has so much more to do with what you get out of your time in a day than I think I ever realized. I mean, this year was nuts for us. we were meant to be launching in coffee shops in March of 2020, completely changed our strategy at Amazon. But on top of that, I was diagnosed with breast cancer in January of 2020 and went through chemo, radiation, lumpectomy surgery, all of that stuff while we launched Willa's, which was really nuts. I didn't have any family history. I mean, I drank matcha. This was not something I saw coming. And so I felt like my life was just so wildly out of control all of a sudden, and to try to regain some sense of control and some agency in my cancer treatment and not just feel like things were being done to me. I basically was like, okay, I need to carve out time every day to exercise. Like my doctors told me that would help me process the chemo better. And I was like, great, I can do that. I tried to eat as clean and then as nourishing of food as I could. I tried to carve out time to meditate and journal and do therapy because, the emotions, we all went through a lot last year, but this was just, it turned my world upside down. And I realized along the way, I was like, why am I only giving myself permission to take time for myself because I'm going through cancer treatment? Like as entrepreneurs, I think there are these messages out there that are like, you need to run on fumes and not sleep and, work 24/7. And that's how you build a business. And I think that is so false and so harmful because yes, you have to work really long hours. Yes, you're going to work weekends and nights, and there are going to be big problems to solve all the time. To me, that is the reason why you need to take care of yourself and carve out time for yourself every day to check in and do the things that make you feel good and energized and allow you to see the big picture. So that's been my big learning this year is, taking care of yourself is not a luxury. It's a necessity, especially as an entrepreneur.
Oh my gosh. Literally, that's what I teach. That is what I teach.
Yeah.
I'm
so inspired by it too. And I'm really honored to be on your podcast because I love your message about that.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much. Well, I mean, I did not experience cancer, but I did experience, a crashing thyroid. And, due to that, what I see as a partial failure in a brick and mortar business. And it was because I was burning the candle at both ends. And, eventually your health is going to crash if you are being an entrepreneur that is burning the candle so hard, so fast. And like for you, Christina, I mean, this popped out of nowhere for you, but you made the best point. Well, first off, we know that prevention is the best medicine always, but also, why is it that as women or just as women in business or as entrepreneurs in general, that we only stop to take care of ourselves when something has gone wrong, when we have no other choice but to slow down and to stop? And it's 100% necessary that we're taking care of ourselves first, honestly, because we are the engine of the entire business. We are the engine of the brand. And, if we want to maintain this growth and we want to help people long-term and make a huge impact long-term, our health is the greatest thing that we should be working on aside from our business. That is a very powerful message. And I did not know that. I did not know about your cancer story. So this is, or maybe I did, but I don't know. Maybe I don't think I did. This is crazy. And this is really powerful. All right. So how are things now with you?
I'm cancer free. I was super fortunate because by the time they went in for surgery, it was almost all gone. I had a complete response. So that means that it's very unlikely to come back, which is amazing. Really good news. And my hair is growing back. So that's very exciting.
Yes.
Yeah, I think, the post-cancer anxiety is real. That is a real thing. But at the same time, I'm also getting to the point where I'm able to kind of look back at what I learned. Things like if I don't work out, almost every day, it affects everything. It affects my interactions with our team. It affects my ability to not just get bogged down in emails. It affects my ability to problem solve and just feel good.
Yeah.
So yeah, now I'm able to kind of look back and really see what I learned.
Wow. Powerful stuff. What did you do with your diet, Christina, what did you do with your diet when you were diagnosed with cancer?
At first I was like, oh my gosh, do I need to go on like a raw food diet and cut out like all sugar? And then I was like, that's like kind of punishing when you're going through a health emergency. And then you're like, now I'm just going to be super strict and afraid of everything. Like that's not, for me, that didn't sound very healing. And I knew I would just rebel.
Yeah.
Like, you tell me I can't do anything, there's going to be a day where I'm like, I'm doing it,
Yeah.
So for me, it was like, I made sure I was having lots of cruciferous vegetables and lots of black pepper and lemon, just like all these things that they found can help prevent breast cancer or help, fight it almost. I can't prove that stuff helped, but it at least had made me feel like I had some ownership in my treatment. Equally, with sugar, I cut way back. I tried to stick to like, candy bars that used real ingredients, real cacao, coconut sugar, things like that. Cause I was just like, if I cut out chocolate while I'm going through like a year and a half, it's basically a year and a half of cancer treatment. That's a very long time to like take chocolate off the table. And I just tried to focus on foods that make me feel good, and that was super helpful for me. And it also forced me to cook a lot more, which is not such a bad thing,
And and speaking of the mental part of it, I think that that's a huge part of healing too. Staying in a lane that you feel mentally happy with in terms of living a more healthful lifestyle. If you feel like you're punishing yourself, you're otherwise going to rebel or just be unhappy, which can change the chemicals in your body in and of itself. So you have to find a plan and something that works for you and that you feel mentally happy with. I think that's a very important message, Christina. All right, so let's dive into, as we're kind of wrapping things up a little, uses of oat milk, because I don't think that people realize how many ways that you can use it. I mean, can you spin off some of the top things that you use oat milk for, that maybe people don't think about? Because again, there's a lot of uses, I feel like.
Yeah. And I'm so inspired by the stuff that people come up with, because they've inspired me to use it in ways that I never would have thought of. So, creamy soups, if you're dairy-free or vegan, I think a lot of people are like, oh man, all that stuff is off the table. All those like wintry hot foods, stews, things like that. Our Willa's Unsweetened Original, the one that you were mentioning, is so great in soup, and anything that you want to make creamy without using dairy. Dairy-free pastas. I am always inspired by like the cheesy, like super ooey gooey delicious vegan pastas that I see people come up with. I love it in matcha every morning and chia pudding. I'm also just a big fan of heating up our new dark chocolate oat milk, which is a collaboration with Rocca Chocolate, which is an awesome vegan chocolate company. That one works really well as hot chocolate.
Perfect.
Yeah. And then, there's so many baked goods and desserts people come up with as well, like chocolate pudding, or one thing that really blew my mind is there's these bread recipes that don't even require kneading, and you use Willa's and it creates this like really fluffy texture. I've seen people come up with like paleo donuts and stuff like that.
Wow.
Yeah,
fun.
It's really endless.
I love it. Yeah. I mean, I've used it for baking and it performs super well. Like, definitely better in my opinion than the box containers that you're going to find that have all these weird gums, like, and that are very watered down. So I highly suggest trying to bake with Willa's, because you're going to find the texture of your baked goods to be amazing. I also use it in smoothies, you guys. You can use it in popsicles. You can make really good frostings with it. The possibilities are endless. Put your granola in it, use it anywhere that you would use a dairy. And again, with those cheese sauces, oh man, let me tell you, it does make a really creamy cheese sauce. I think it's because it's that whole grain oat that's used, and it's just so good. So I love it. Okay, Christina, are there any last thoughts that you want to share with, I mean, we've talked kind of randomly about food, about life, and about business, but do you have anything you want to leave before we wrap up with the final question?
I think if you're considering an entrepreneurial journey or trying something different, allow yourself to try it out and do some research and just start seeing where it goes. If this year has taught me anything, it's that there are no dress rehearsals, and this is our chance to find ways to make a positive impact on the world and do things that make us happy. So don't wait on it. Just get started somewhere.
So good. So good. Okay. Here's a question, Christina, that I ask every guest. What does holistic living mean to you?
To me, it's the whole person, right? And we're learning more and more about how our mental health and our physical health and the communities that we surround ourselves with, all of that stuff is interconnected. And you can't ignore your mental health and expect to feel great, and you can't ignore your physical health and expect to feel great. It's just, you constantly need to check in with yourself and see what's working and what's not working, and keep doing what you need to feel good.
I love it. I love it. So powerful. All right, my friend, that is it. You guys, let us know if you love this episode. I think this was super inspiring, Christina. You gave us a lot of good nuggets of wisdom and information, and I am just so thankful for your time.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for having me and sharing the story of Willa's, and just, it's an honor. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.